Bob Magnuson. And in this edition of ReedWorks, it's probably going to be a long video, but I can't help it. It might almost be a little bit of a rant, but a good-natured rant. The reason I'm playing the oboe today at all is to show you that this has been an instrument for me that was a game changer, and I was very appreciative to be introduced to it in grammar school. I had a clarinet, it cracked, and the teacher said, "Oh, here, play the oboe," and it changed my life. I got a scholarship to go to college, and studio work in the 80s, 90s, jingle work, film work, all because of the oboe. I was always able to get a good sound, but the reed is everything, 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 everything. So I still make reeds, gouge cane. I listen to podcasts all the time of great oboe players. And they're nerds, and they're geeks, and they're wonderful, intelligent people who make reeds and talk about making reeds, and knives and sandpaper and soaking reeds and not soaking them and hocus pocus. So it's fascinating. So my whole point about the oboe stuff is that I bring the same intensity to my single reeds. So I don't have an issue with single reeds on my saxophones or clarinets really ever, because I know how to maintain balance and keep structure in a reed. I also make my own kinds of tools to do fine trimming of the tips and knowing how to take stuff out of the veins. And this is all oboe talk. Now, just to share a thing, if you want to listen to oboe talk, there's a thing called Reed Talks. It's a podcast on Amazon. Just to listen to how oboe players approach their reeds, and you can transfer that knowledge to your own saxophone reeds. I'm not saying I know anything really. I'm just sharing what I know and what works for me. So in parts of this video, I'm going to touch upon the saxophone reed, talk about oboe reeds, but integrate it into a saxophone concept. So the same thing as what I do on oboe reeds, I'll do on saxophone reeds, and I'll tie that in. Okay, now to show some examples of some things I do. I like to use this term transference. So whatever I'm doing on the oboe, I'm trying to bring to my other instruments. I'll show you what I mean. Like if I'm going to play any particular note on the oboe, it has to respond the same way on the saxophone. Each note has to respond individually. So something like that. Now, I'm going to go right to the saxophone. Try not to break my reed. Now, same thing. And it's just air at this point. But I have this reed balanced and shaped. All the right fibers are moved, so the reed is vibrating, and it feels very much like the oboe reed. Now I bring that same feeling to the saxophone. It's responding. Everything's there. Any register, any volume. And now it is there. Watch when I want to get a little louder. So that dynamic range is how I want to play the oboe. So it's that similar feeling, but it gives me tremendous color and expression by playing like that. So I only hope that could be helpful. Keep emailing me with any questions. I do teach people this. I do teach classes to very serious students who want to understand reeds. Also, the importance of reeds is not just your sound, but in any situation to do work consistently. If you're playing in an ensemble, a band, oh my God, a Broadway show, you have to do 8 shows a week. You can't play with inspiration, and the situation changes of combinations of players, situations of sound, microphones, hearing yourself correctly. It all can disorient you to what your comfortable sound is in your practice room. Okay, so it affects the way you feel about playing your instrument. So having control of your reeds is so important because you always have to get this response. And you have to be ahead of yourself with reeds, otherwise you get caught. You get in reed spins. You have solos in the show, and also you're missing a beginning of a note or something. You're having a problem with reeds. It brings attention to you, makes you nervous. Okay, so it's so much about reeds. I didn't study with Joe Allard, and marvelous teacher, wonderful things about his body and playing, and yes, I agree. I studied with Jimmy Giuffre with similar concepts. But for me, it always comes down to the actual reed, not what my diaphragm is doing or my muscles totally in my face. Yes, they all have to work in synchronicity, but be relaxed. But it really comes down to the reed. That's why I really say you should listen to these reed shows just to understand, like, wow, people are coming towards reeds in such a different way than saxophone players usually are. We just look for the best reed until we find one and play it to the end. But there's hope. There's a whole other world of sound and pleasure in playing the saxophone when you can adjust your reeds. And if you want some consultations, I do it, and I can show you all my little techniques and be nerdy and share them with you. All the best. Email me if you wish. Thanks again. Bob Magnuson.